be irresistible. My heart beats, you move your feet. I love the way you run to me, run to me, run to me. Run! Who is the person I need to be for you to want to stay with me? Liberty, liberty. I'll take a chance, I'll set you free. It's not about captivity. This isn't work, I wanna play. I'm honored that you dance with me, dance with me, dance with me. Dance! Who is the person I need to be for you to want to stay with me? Liberty, 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 liberty. I just want to prove that I am worthy. I'll earn your trust so you believe that the best place on earth for you to be is with me. Who is the person I need to be for you to want to stay with me? I'll be the person I need to be for you to want to stay with me. Liberty, 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 liberty.
Greetings, everybody, horse lovers across the continent. How are you all doing? Good, good, good. I guess we got it. Whoops. I'll turn that one off. Hold on a second. Just jump right in. There we go. That's happened when you hit the wrong button. Here we go. So, David, you there with me?
Hi.
All right. So, greetings, everybody, horse lovers across the continent. This is Andrew Turnbull, and on behalf of the International Horsemanship Association, I'm here to welcome our special guest and a personal friend of mine of 2 decades, David Lichman, for this edition of IHA Live. But first, I want to recognize that it's the 1-year anniversary for IHA Live. Every 2 months, the International Horsemanship Association has been bringing you interviews with experts in horsemanship to bring relationship-based horsemanship everywhere. It's an honor of mine to be your host for this anniversary IHA Live. And for as long as I've known David, he's been spanning the globe as a top-rated Parelli professional, helping people get extraordinary results with horses. He's helped thousands of horses from every breed and humans from every discipline at hundreds of clinics all over the world. Always putting the relationship first. David won a world grand championship in nearly 30 years ago on a light-shod Tennessee Walker pleasure horse named the Artful Dodger. And David went on to combine his passion for gaited horses along with his mentor Pat Parelli's teaching methods to create the Gaited Horses Naturally Learning Program. David is well known for bringing music to his clinics and helping horses and humans literally dance together as they ride to the music at varying tempos. David's strong interest in animal behavior led him to partner with Professor Jennifer A. Zeligs, PhD, who is known for her work with sea lions in Moss Landing, California, David wrote the introduction to Dr. Zellig's book, Animal Training 101, The Complete and Practical Guide to the Art and Science of Behavioral Modification, available on Amazon. Combining his study of animal behavior with natural horsemanship teaching talent, David's been focusing on helping his students achieve extraordinary results with his mastery series, Liberty Outside the Round Pen. I am very excited to talk with David today about liberty with horses, and we'll take questions from our IHA Live audience. Let's give a warm relationship-based welcome to our IHA Live special guest, David Lichman.
Yay.
Woo. So, David, before I get started, I want to congratulate One Step Closer Therapeutic Riding of Morgan Hill, California for its therapeutic horsemanship grant from the Parelli Foundation. And let me do a quick share here of my screen. I'm gonna show you guys this and share, there we go. So the Parelli Foundation grant will support One Step Closer to hire my guest tonight, David Lichman, to teach natural horsemanship to the volunteers at the therapeutic riding facility. And David will be making a matching donation to the training of One Step Closer as well. David, you want to talk a little bit about the grant?
Well, with the Parelli Foundation, I told them that whatever grants they give, I will do a matching amount. So for example, if they give $1,000 grant for studying, I will give them $2,000 worth of education. Basically, I'll double the time that they purchase, that they pay for. And I've been deeply moved by this idea of therapeutic horsemanship, especially around veterans. Hey, there he is. Look at this.
Hey, Kitty showed up. There is somebody trying to reconnect, so if you can help us reconnect somebody. There we go. Good, thank you.
So yeah, the veterans, you know, some of the numbers are as many as 20 veterans committing suicide per day.
Yeah,
like 150 a week. So equine therapy turns out to really be very helpful in those cases. And so I try to lend a lot of support to it. The organizations like One Step Closer, they do the heavy lifting. I just kind of promote and fundraisers and whatnot. But in this case, helping to train their volunteers is it's a little bit of a win-win. So I've been avoiding it because of the virus restrictions, but I think we're going to do the first one on a Zoom session, and then the next one is going to be live after that.
Oh, that's awesome, David. And thank you for your great support.
Pocus.
Pocus just showed up. Yeah, hey, there's Pocus, my partner out here in California.
Let's
David,
demonstrate how poorly our cats are trained.
Yeah, our cats, she just shows up. Anyway, so David, we really appreciate, especially from the, speaking for the Parelli Foundation and for One Step Closer, that you'll be out to help us out here out on the West Coast. So David, I understand that you might have a video for us.
I have a few videos for inspiration that we can start with. I've lost the thing that says share screen. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is, since we were unable to do any live events, do I need to make that full screen, or is it working like that?
Oh, it looks fine.
Okay. So we were unable to do live events when the girls from France were here helping me. And so we did a Facebook Live, and this is just a little excerpt showing some of the newest stuff that we've been doing with the junior team. Yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. So, David, which team is that?
It's the junior team.
The junior team, right?
Yeah, and then I have another video. So Ada is on the call today.
Hello to Nova Scotia, Canada.
Right, and so yeah, when I was laid up with my knee replacement, she spent a long time teaching this tiny little horse to sit. And one of my goals was to have the horses sit, to go into the arena, find the chair in the middle of the arena, turn around and sit down. And she got it so strong that it really didn't take much more to build the chain behavior from just the sitting. So I thought I'd show you this little thing. She gets most of the credit for this, but I guess I get credit for having her come here. Can you see it all right?
Yep, that's good, David. Thanks. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, good job, Ada. Awesome.
Yes, yeah. And the most amazing thing is that little horse is only a yearling.
Wow.
And I'll show you something later on where he's working with another horse, and it just blew my mind how I always knew that my yearlings always did a bunch of stuff, but this one is just taking off. He does tremendous amount of stuff.
Oh, that's great.
So it's really interesting.
So David, who were your mentors that inspired your competitive and then your professional career as a world-class natural horsemanship clinician?
Yeah, I saw that question before, and I was going to just say, oh, let's not talk about the competitive career, but I really wanted to mention one person who was super influential when I was competing with walking horses, and his name was Bruce Almeida. He passed maybe 10 years ago or more. But he was very intuitive with the horses. Strong also in using negative reinforcement in training. He was very strong, very insistent, but he had that sense of feeling for the what it's going to take to change the gaits of the horses to be more pleasing, I would say. Mm-hmm. And he used to live down the street from Glenn Randall, the movie trainer, who was known for being actually quite strong with horses. So the thing with Glenn was he would take the horse into a round pen with big tall sides and no one could see. And they'd say he'd either come out with the horse doing the trick that they needed for the movie or they wouldn't come out. Oh, no. So that was the saying. I mean, he did all the horses for Ben-Hur. He did, had a fabulous career of training horses, but he was also strong. So I think Bruce got a little bit of that. But what really helped me the most was that he was so in tune with the horses. He'd be riding along and he could feel like one of the nails in the shoe would be off, loose or something. And he'd stop and get off and he'd say, oh, this is, or he'd go call the farrier out and he'd say, I need you to just take, 1/8 of an inch off the toe just to get the, to really get refined. So Bruce Almeida, rest in peace. He was a great guy, a fantastic cook. He had a radio voice, one of those voices. Mm. The cat just caught a fly. It just leaped in the air, though. So I don't know, if there's any video of him or anything from him, but the only other person that you might know that knew Bruce was Jenny Trainer. So Jenny, she's doing Gaited Horses with Parelli now, and she also knew Bruce. She was part of that world back then. Then, as far as the horsemanship piece, my first inspiration that horses could be an art form came from watching the Spanish Riding School when they came in 1963 to Boston Garden, where the Bruins would play, and they covered up the ice and they made a riding dressage court, and then they hung a couple of fake chandeliers, and I saw the Colonel Oliver Podolsky with the team of stallions from Vienna. They flew them over, and it was just something that was just locked into me, that there was this dance that could be done. And I didn't really get to do that until a lot of years later, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. But that was like a big inspiration for me. And in the natural horsemanship world, I ran across a guy by the name of Ray Hunt. He did 18 colts in 18 days at the California State Fair at 4:30 in the afternoon when it was 103 degrees out. And I was there every day watching, and people, State Fair, it's not really a lot of horse people, and people would be watching, and I'd be looking around and going, oh my God, can't you see this guy is doing miracles here? And he would do something like, pretty quick here, the old yellow over there is gonna flick her ear towards me, and then she's gonna turn. And it's like, oh my God, the horse would do it. And then the following year, Pat Parelli came, and he had a way of saying all the stuff that he had learned from Ray Hunt. Here's a way of handing it off to you in little bite-sized pieces. So that's how that started. I've had other, mentors. Hansa Blaha was he came as a student and ended up being one of my strongest influencers. That happens a lot. I think the students, it's a quote on my website from the Talmud that says, much I have learned from my teachers, more from my colleagues, but most from my students.
Wonderful.
So, I learned a ton. I learned a ton when Ada was here from her. And I think it's mutually beneficial. It's win-win. And I love it when the students pass me. I love it when they do more than I showed them. This is the best compliment.
That's awesome. Well, Davis, what inspired you to take up, following Pat all over the continent to learn to teach his love language and leadership methods?
Well, at the time, I was doing gaited horses, and I was trying to help people teach their horses to gait. That was the big problem. We have our horses, they don't gait. They trot, they pace, they don't canter, whatever it was. And I I would show up at these classes, and they couldn't trailer load their horse, they couldn't tie the horse, they couldn't lead the horse, they couldn't ride the horse. And I said, you guys need more foundation. So I started teaching them the 7 games. It wasn't called the 7 games then, but teaching them the ground skills, basically. And then I contacted Pat and I said, I'm having to buy all these halters and lead ropes and sticks and books for these students. Is there a way I can buy them wholesale and make a little money and represent you? And he said, yeah, if you become an instructor. So they did that. I was on the first U.S. instructor team, 1994.
Wow. Oh, by the way, to all of our IHA live listeners across the continent, I encourage you to type in your questions in the chat window. And shortly, I'll be bringing as many of your questions to David as I can during our time here. I think you all just look down and hit that chat thing and go ahead. Make sure I can see it, so that's important. You can do it privately too. Let me make sure it's. You can do it privately to me, or you can do it to everyone. I'll be monitoring both. David, as one of your Liberty students, which I am, can you describe what led you to focus on Liberty and to help us achieve amazing results with Liberty, even in the large areas outside the round pen?
Well, the other inspiration early on was going to the circus and seeing that there's another art form to having horses dance at Liberty without humans attached. And so that was inspirational to me as a kid. We would go every year to see Ringling Brothers, and that kind of lived inside of me. And then I had no idea about doing Liberty training until Pat's made it, it's part of level 2 at that point, and we learned how to do it. And when Hansa came here and we started talking about maybe we could combine this idea of doing these circus maneuvers without having to be inside a circus ring or a round pen. And we try to fix a connection that's strong enough so that we don't rely on the pen to enforce their sticking around. And that's where the concept was born with when Hansa was here. It kind of evolved out of the stuff we were playing with every day.
Oh, that's great. So Hansa actually inspired some of your methods then.
Oh yeah, more than inspired. He was really helpful. And
wow.
When he came, he was still trying to figure it out also. So we kind of brainstormed, and he would wake up in the middle of the night and say, I figured out how to get him to jump the one barrel or whatever it was that he was doing.
Right. Right. Well, that's amazing.
He was the first one to be responsible for the sitting horses.
Yep.
I know Farah calls her place Sitting Horse.
Sitting Horse Tribe. Yep.
Tribe, yeah. But I think Hansa was the first one to really push the envelope on that. It was an interesting story because he asked me how to teach the horse to sit, and I coached him on the internet through email.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he showed up here, he said, oh, show me the sitting horses. I said, what sitting horses? He says, you showed me how to teach the sitting horse. I want to see your sitting horses. I don't have any sitting horses. He says, what? He said, you told me how to do it. I said, yeah, I said I could teach you. I didn't say I could do it.
Wow.
Because I knew the method, I just never had done it. So we did that together. The goal was to get the 3 horses to sit down at the table with Pat when we went to the Savvy conference a few months later. And we did that. There's a picture of the 3 horses with Hansa and me and Pat sitting on the bales of hay.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So in your Liberty outside the round pen, you developed 2 signature approaches to help students and the horses at Liberty. Can you talk about them?
Yeah, briefly, in Liberty without any fences requires a tremendous amount of draw. So we have 2 exercises. One of them says that you need to go away with the idea of coming back, so that they never think, when they're going away, they're always looking, how do I get back? And that it's like a bungee cord. It's like if you have a very weak connection, like a little thin elastic, and you send them away and they're going away and it breaks and they run off and they kick and they go visit someone else. But if you use this exercise, it strengthens it, so it becomes like a 300 elastics tied up in a bungee cord. And the farther away they get, the more they want to rush back to you. So that's one of the exercises. I call it boomerang, but you basically go away and come back. And the other I call the game of 2 eyes, which is basically a small circle at liberty, which the idea behind that is there really is no point to leaving anyway. Everything good is here. Everything out there is kind of sucky. So we really strengthen the idea that next to me is the best place on earth. Why would you ever want to leave? What were you thinking when you left? Oh, geez, And so between those 2, you can build just about anything at liberty without having to rely on a fence.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's take a couple of questions from the audience. Kim, here it is a second. There we go. Kim says, I'm doing a demo with my horse. I purchased David's Liberty program. Do you have any tips to choreograph a little demo? And how do you keep the connection during the demo?
Yeah, I have a lot of tips. It's going to be, the first tip is only show 80% of what you're capable of. So that last 20% is not so reliable. So for example, in the circus, they'll spend a year training a Liberty routine with 12 horses, say, a very complicated routine. And then they'll spend the second year solidifying it so that it's presentable, so that it's reliable. So you always try to make the 80%, don't show everything you got, because the last 20% is more likely to fail because of the context shift. Mm-hmm. So that's, the context shift is huge. You take it from, just from your arena to in front of your barn, it can fall apart. And now you're going to put them in a trailer and you're going to haul them 2 hours, and it's a strange place and there's people running around. So you can expect things to be much more challenging because of that context shift. An interesting story about that is, again, with Hansa, he would have the horse jump a single barrel, Gaston, upright barrel. And he would complain, he says, in the show, he just ducks to the side a little bit. He just doesn't go right in the middle. And we practice at home. It works perfectly, perfectly, perfectly. As soon as we get to the show, he just knows that I'm not going to fix it, and I'm frustrated with that. So he called me once when he was staying with Pat, and he says, I figured out how to get Gaston to jump the single barrel every time in the show. I said, what? He said, well, you told me only show 80% of what you can do. So I made the barrel the 80%. I taught him to jump a carrot stick. And he did. And so the first show, they went to the Horse Expo in Maryland, and he called me and he said, it worked great. He jumped the barrel perfectly. And then Pat came out and said, hold on. You think that's good? Watch this. And he brought his stick out and he made him jump the stick in the thing, because Pat's a big risk taker, right? Mm-hmm. So after that, Hansa never jumped single barrel in the show again.
Did he always go to the carrot stick then all the time?
No, he did 2 barrels.
2 barrels, got it.
Yeah, he just said, I'm
because he wasn't sure what Pat might pull, right?
Yeah, he didn't want it. But Pat's a risk taker, and we love that, and we accept that about him. So
sure.
Yeah.
Well, Kim did tell us that she's playing in level 3-4.
Yeah.
And,
so show 80%. Don't show the last things that you're struggling with. Prepare for the context shift. Okay, so this is huge. Before I do any kind of a show, I will go to as many new places as I can. I'll call up everybody I know and say, can I use your arena for half an hour? Just go somewhere, practice a little bit, leave. if I have access to the place where I'm going to do the show, I will go there a lot. And I will go early before anyone shows up and let them, you know, so that try to remove a lot of those distractions. It's really something that, you know, once the horses get seasoned and they've been to 100 places and they're doing a lot of shows, you know, they look around, but basically they're looking for me wherever we are. But in the beginning, you really, or if it's been a long time, like I haven't done a show in a year, I'm gonna be looking for places to practice before I do the Horse Expo next year. So that's the other thing. And then the last thing is, you know, have an idea of what you'd like to do, but you really have to go with what the horses offer, because you'll just say, this carousel thing, that's not gonna work. I can feel already that this one's gonna leave, or this one's gonna go the wrong way, and you just say, nah, make something out of it. You know, whatever they do, make something out of it. Run with them, try to corral them back. But in the program, we practice what happens if they leave, and basically that is, think of it as a leadership exchange. We're still dancing, but now we have the horses leading, and so you're going to follow along until you can kind of tease the leadership back, and then go from there. In the show, you'll never get everything perfect, and you should never be disappointed with what happens, because what happens is what's supposed to happen. With their feelings, you know, you can't be responsible for their feelings other than to try to prepare them as best as possible. But things change.
Yeah, one of our friends here on the call called it an interpretive dance. And I want to call it the probably extreme adjust to fit the situation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So my friend Rebecca Witter, who is an author of several books and interviewed a lot of top named people for her books, just commented that Glenn Randall taught rigor.
Yeah, I can read that. I read it, yeah.
Oh, can you see it? The 100 tricks, including the famous movie scenes
yeah,
with rigor?
There were actually,
Yeah.
I think there were like 8 or 10 triggers.
Is that right?
Bruce told me that he would go over to Glenn's. It was a mile from his house there in Santa Clarita. And he would go down there, and Glenn would say, oh, this is the trigger that sits, and this is the trigger that rears, and this is the trigger that Roy can ride in the parade, and this is the, you know, they had 8 different triggers.
Lots of golden palominos.
Yes, yeah, they were all golden palominos. Have you studied the techniques of Lorenzo, the Flying Frenchman? Yeah, I watched him. He does impossible stuff. He's combined both initially the Roman riding, or the post, it's sometimes called, and I saw a video of him in around 2000, and he did 20 minutes of standing on 2 horses driving various numbers of other horses jumping. And when you see 20 minutes of those, it's like doing whatever that thing is, squat thrusts or something for 20 minutes. Your legs start to burn. He must have legs of steel. And then he got into this idea he was starting to work with a little bit with Jean-Francois Pignon. Says, I want to get rid of the lines and the ropes and just be on the horses naked. And that worked out really well. And then he took it to extreme. He's got like 30 horses that are staying with him. I'm not sure if those horses somebody with circus training helped him, because that's what it looks like. They look like they're sort of circus trained, but again, he doesn't do it in the round pen. He's in the big open area. So it's very, very impressive.
Cool. So David, the trend in relationship-based horsemanship training is definitely moving to the internet. And of course, it's been forced a little bit during the pandemic, but can you tell us how the internet has changed your approach to serving your students?
I'd say it's both helpful. I can help somebody long distance. I mean, I had a student in France, and she was scared because the horse would find this spooky corner of the arena, which now I believe in ghosts, by the way, because my horses swear to me there's a ghost in this corner over here, right? But so I helped her with a bunch of techniques about teaching the horse relaxation, which is another one of the big things I stress during my clinics and stuff. And I coached her long distance through this process, and she would, every couple of months, she would write to me and say, oh, I can walk the horse in the scary corner now. And then she'd be like, oh, I can trot through the scary corner, and everything was getting better and better. And then I went to France, and she came to the class, and I said, let me demonstrate with your horse this technique of this coping strategy that I teach. And when I took the horse, he was so good at it, I couldn't demonstrate the technique. He immediately put his head down and relaxed as soon as I brought out the the noisemakers and the tarps and everything else. He was so good at it, I had to use a different horse. And it was so thrilling to see that this horse could that I could teach this young girl without having actually been there and have it be successful. But the downside is that everybody has something on the internet to offer, and it becomes like this massive, giant, larger than life horse expo with so many different options for people. Some of them good, some of them not so good, but most of them good, actually. I mean, there's people all over the world trying to make a living, helping people with the internet learning, and the market has changed dramatically to try to get people to even just I made my videos streaming so they can have them instantly and less expensively than printing them and shipping them. But it seems to be that there's a lot of YouTube, you can learn how to lay your horse down 600 different ways for free. Why would you want to ask me about it? So it's a mixed blessing.
Mm-hmm. Well, David, you mentioned you might want to show us another video. Are you up for that?
Sure. I'll share the whole screen, right? So this one is this is interesting because these two little horses know these maneuvers individually, but they have had very little play together. And this is just 2 sessions of just in the morning, seeing if I could get them to do what they already knew individually and do it together. And it was kind of fun. Circle. Good circling. Good circling. Good circling. Line up. Go line up. Line up. Good. Applause. 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 On here. Very good. Line up. Good. Good. Spin. Good job. There they are. Nice job. Good. 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 Feet. Hup. Hup. Good. That's great fun, David. They're super fun. Like I said, that little one, the littlest one, is only a year old. It just shocks the hell out of me how much he knows. and how precise he is about the stuff.
Awesome. So
I give a plug to where I got them from. They came from Oregon, VFM Miniature Horses. Van Fleet is the Van Fleet Miniatures, VFM.
Cool. Well, they're a lot of fun. Lisa Rask, who is one of the officers of the IHA, asks, any tips for those horses that have more whoa than go for getting more draw at liberty? Her horse's feet tend to get stuck quite often and doesn't have much enthusiasm. How do you wake up that introverted horse?
Yeah, mostly it's successive approximations on speed. So like he's not going to run to you at a gallop on day one. Maybe he would just walk a little faster. And then I always try to have a bridge, you know, a secondary reinforcer where I can encourage him with my words, and he knows that turns into food. So if I tell him, good job, hurry up, come on, you're getting here, get here quicker, and he does speed up a little bit, and I tell him good and give him a cookie, this is going to allow me to convey to him that speeding up will get him more primary reinforcers or food instead of just having the food there and waiting. The encouraging tone in the voice is very helpful in this situation. And I use a lot of food.
Food is a motivator.
Yeah. My wife learned that works for me too.
So, Kim, I'll be back to you in just a second. I wanted to, Robin, who serves on the Parelli Foundation board with me, asks, you helped me with a very challenging Golden Palomino years ago at Debbie Williams' place. He's gone on to be an incredible lover of liberty. He's very sensitive to my energy. So the secret to him is making sure that my own energy is centered. If I'm off, he gives me the middle hoof. So he's a fabulous gift to me, and he continues to be the best to be the best me I can be. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Another one of my inspirations is Frederic Pignon. He was the horseman that started Cavalia years ago.
Was that the guy with the really long hair?
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, he was amazing.
Yeah, and he told me that when he first started playing with the stallions and going to shows, they would just piss off and leave. And he did meditation for almost 2 years before he could find that place when he was out there with them that they would all of a sudden stay connected with him. So, yeah, absolutely right. You can't be in conflict inside yourself and have the horses expect to hang around. You have to be in harmony with them.
Well, it's interesting, David, because you and I just went through Jennifer Zillig's class where
exactly.
we talked about that. And, you know, we both learned something about showing up being very much in the moment in meditation. Can you share some more about that, since you were a better student than I was?
Yeah, Jennifer had us do like set intention before you go out through meditation, 10 minutes, just 10 minutes of just like setting intention and getting clear. And then if things are not going well, take a pause. It can be 3 breaths or it could be 3 minutes, and recenter yourself so that your energy is appropriate. You can take her course online. It's just look up Animal Training 101 or...
You should probably go by Sleuths, right?
Yes, Sleuths.
Yeah. You can...
Science, learning, education with the help of sea lions.
Right.
Sleuths. And then her other site is called Animal Research International. And through that site, there's a bunch of education courses, which are phenomenal.
Yeah, I really.
But the one that we were just talking about was a 4-session course, and it was on the subject of. Yes, Andrew, what's the subject?
Well, I always had a hard time.
Mindful partners.
That's right.
Mindfulness in training.
Mindfulness. Yeah. It was very interesting. It was all about getting yourself ready and being there. And so when Robin mentions being centered, I think she's spot on. Kim
had a question.
Yeah, she said she loved how you had your horses do a spin. How do you go about teaching that? It was so cool.
Yeah, so I teach that the circus style, and I give all the information of that is on the video series called Liberty Outside the Round Pen with Multiple Horses, because spin by itself is interesting, but when multiple horses do it, it's more interesting. So I stuck it in there. That's available streaming, but the basic concept is start on line, and there's a way to wrap the rope around the neck so that it unwinds as the horse turns around, and do it against the fence, and then at liberty. And to get more energy into the spin, don't wail on them to put energy in, just let them rush out of the behavior. So this is a Parelliism. Don't rush into the behavior, rush out of the behavior to get speed. So as they're in the behavior, they're going, oh, I'm going to have to hurry, and pretty soon it leaks back into the behavior, that you get this energy without having the negative impact of you nagging and pushing. So those are the two big secrets. I don't teach it the way that some people do, which is the horse looks at you and you turn him away and call him back. That's a different style. In the circus, they don't like to turn the horse away. They always are turning the horse towards in the beginning. So I adopted the circus style. But all the details are in the Liberty Outside the Round Pen with Multiple Horses video on my website.
Awesome. Jessica asked a great question. She said, what would you say would be the most important asset of a good horse person? There's a lot of assets, right?
There are a lot of assets. I mean, the 10 qualities of a horseman from Parelli, all of those are important. The most important asset, since we're talking about relationship-based training, I would say is developing a relationship, because you can learn all the tricks, you can learn all the techniques. Of course, if you have good timing, that's a really important asset to be in, but you can learn that, you can hone that. But the caring should come first. Really understanding what they need and helping them have what they need is going to make everything go so much better. If you think they're there to serve you, then that can work. It does work, and it's worked for centuries. But the better way and the way to have it be more successful and more exuberant and more fun and more connected is to be always thinking about things from their perspective first. And how can I give them something in the process of getting what I need that also is something that they would choose to do again and enjoy. So the question is about motivation, really. Being able to motivate horses, that's the strongest asset, to understand motivation and to help them, not just motivate them to do it, but for them to show up and say, can we do it again?
Yeah, well, I love putting the relationship first as always, and then, like you said, seeing from the horse's perspective, and I think that's a great answer to that one. So David, we do have professionals on the call, and you are one of the more, you've been at a long time, you're mature. I said, what challenges do you see for relationship-based horsemanship professionals today, and what advice would you have the new and aspiring horsemanship professionals?
Well, I mean, we talked about it before, that because of the internet, I think you have to develop relationships with your students because the internet provides all the information in massive quantities and various styles. So to create a business of helping people, you have to make a connection with the people, and that's find out what they need and and how to motivate the students, and then help them in that way. It basically, it can't be cookie cutter. You have to look at each situation and say, okay, what's going on here? So I had a student today who my first lesson in like 6 months, I went over and she was talking about, she didn't like the horses, the way the horse would do everything for her, but it would always have this attitude about it. And normally I would say, hey, the horse is doing it. He wants to do more. Don't worry so much about the expression. But what she told me was, it's getting to the point where I don't want to go out there anymore and play with her because it doesn't feel like she likes it. Even though she's doing it willingly or doing it readily, it doesn't seem like it's willing. So that was a lesson that I probably wouldn't give 99.9% of the people, is say, look, don't worry so much about what your horse's ears are doing. Worry about, is he a willing partner, and is he showing up? Those are some of the things. But in this case, because it was bothering her, I changed the lesson, and we just went back to working at a walk, and the horse all of a sudden went, oh, this could be fun. I don't have to fight this. So you can't be cookie cutter. You have to look at each situation. When you're teaching big classes, it's always the most for the many, but then oftentimes I will say, hey, stick around after class, let me show you something. Or come back tomorrow morning and we'll do a private session or something.
So I think what I'm hearing is the touring clinician is still going to be alive and well, despite no matter how much we have the internet.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm pretty burned out on traveling. They say that the happiest day of the boat owner's life is the day he buys it and the day he sells it, right? So you met my friend Payson. Payson and I, we would say the happiest day of my life was when I made my annual mileage allotment for the year to get gold status for the next year. Because now
that's a lot of travel. Yeah, that's
a lot. Then the next happiest day was when I didn't make it. I didn't travel so much that I burnt myself out. So it's
right.
It's also a mixed blessing.
All right. I just want to let everybody know on the call we're about 7 minutes to go, because we're going to give everybody that warning. So David, what are you working on these days?
Funny you should ask. I'm training some chickens.
I actually knew that, but I wasn't sure you were going to go to the chickens during this call. But I had a ball with the chickens watching what you were doing.
I might be able to play something.
As part of this class that we took, and I thought he was going to go all horses. He went chickens. It was fun.
Well, I have this idea that the chickens could ride the horses. This is my theory, and I want them to ride because I got little chickens, and I want them to ride the little horses. So I can actually play this for you. This was really fun because how do I share screen? There we go. Because I got Nancy to film it for me, and one of the chickens kept flying and landing on the camera. So let's see. First of all, can you see this? Is that showing up?
Yep.
Okay.
Load up. Load up. Come on, load up. Load up.
Oh my gosh. I have a chicken on the camera. Don't hit the...
That happened to me before. Here. Load up. Here. 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 Here.
We have another one.
Load up.
job. Load up. Good job. Next here. Come on. Come on, Pink. Here. Pink here.
Blue, don't.
Pink here.
Don't.
Blue. Here. Come on. Here.
Oh, blue.
Here. Load up.
Let's see if I can get a
Load up. Load up. Everybody load up.
There you go.
Blue.
There you go. Off you go again. There you go. Good purple.
Load up.
I'm much more
Load
interested.
up. Load up. Very good.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm going to zoom it up too. Babies in the horse trailer.
Chicken
Wait a
trailer.
minute. Chicken trailer.
Chicken wagon.
Chicken wagon. That should have been really good.
Oh, that was great fun. You did get further than the last video you showed me. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now they were going in 2 separate containers because they're too big for the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I pushed them a little fast because I started moving them, and they get a little worried about going in. So I have to go backwards and get them comfortable with it. It's just like trail loading a horse, really, you know.
Yeah, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking it's a lot like loading a horse if you make it.
Load up.
Yeah, I heard that. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to note that there's a lot of really positive comments here, lots of thank yous, and you know,
Oops.
people using their food. You know, they supporting the fact to use the food and appreciating David. Lisa said she says it's great fun to see the parallels between chicken training and horse training.
It's 6 o'clock.
Anyway, David, we are at the end of our hour here. And on behalf of the International Horsemanship Association and IHA Live, on its first anniversary, I want to thank you for being with us today. And for more about David, reach out to his website, www.davidlichman.com, where you can order any of the video information from David. You can reach out to him as well, and get access to David. David, you got any final comments before we sign off today?
Somebody put up an end poll here.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That was me. Don't
How
worry.
much do you like the IHA Live interviews? I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, she put up an end poll for the group. Okay, that's great. That's great.
No, I really, I didn't see Farah on this call.
But she's off in a remote place.
Yeah.
Where there's not much internet. It's like she does something called what do you guys call it? A retreat of some kind? I'm sure they're all wearing their masks.
So Farah was also, she was a colleague and a student at the same time at Pat's Ranch, and we had a lot of fun together. And I'm very appreciative of all of her hard work in setting up this organization. Trying to make it non-denominational is a great idea. That people shouldn't be competing around the idea of having a great relationship with the horse. Everybody should be trying to do it.
Well, I think it's wonderful. One of the things I do want to comment on is now that I've been involved with Parelli, I'm on a completely separate organization called the Parelli Foundation, and I've been helping out Farah and working with the board at the International Horsemanship Association. I can tell you all 3 of these organizations need to continue to exist. I think that they can exist together. I think it's wonderful that tonight is a big night when we've integrated several different organizations under the same place. I do want to shout out to the International Horsemanship Association for all the work they're doing. You can find their website at internationalhorsemanship.org. They're going to probably end up asking for a grant for the Parelli Foundation, and we can make it all go full circle. And anyway, I see lots of thank yous. Thank you so much, David. Thank you to Logan Easley up in Washington for taking good care of David and I. Thanks to everybody that came onto the call. And I just must say, may the horse be with you.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody.